Hi, it's Christina from the Sisyphean Journal. This is kind of another episode of Will YouTube Nuke It? It's a response to YouTube nuking a 19-minute video I did about experiments done on living fetuses before, during, and after abortions. They just declared the whole thing misinformation, nuked it. They would not tell me specifically what it is they had a problem with. Between you, me, and the entire world, I don't think it was that it was misinformation. I think it's that they did not want you to know this stuff, and they figured, we'll just call it misinformation and call it a day. Yes, I'm challenging you, YouTube. So I'm going through an article called Ethical Issues in Experimentation on the Human Fetus by LeRoy Walters in the Journal of Religious Ethics, spring 1974. You have to subscribe to jstor.org, but you can subscribe for free and get free access to quite a few articles. So I'm going to put the name of the article below, and you can access it. And also, I found the abstract for the article that Ethical Issues in the Experimentation on the Human Fetus cites. So I will link to that abstract, and I'm going to read some of that to you. Plus, I found another artificial placenta citation in another article, and I'll provide the link for you for that. So YouTube, if you think that this is misinformation, then you have problems with Journal of Religious Ethics. Oops, not this one. American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and this is small, I can't read it, hold on. And Transatlantic Pediatrics, I think. Well, I'll provide the link. So, at any rate, what we have first from Journal of Religious Ethics, they're describing this experiment. So they actually quote the article with information that I can't get because I cannot afford to buy the article. Let me first read the abstract from the article. An artificial placenta, the development of an extracorporeal system for maintenance of immature infants with respiratory problems, published in the American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology, 1st March 1968. This paper deals with research in developing an extracorporeal circuit that could support infants afflicted by this syndrome, respiratory distress syndrome. A membrane oxygenator dialyzer circuit has been developed and used to provide a means of both gaseous exchange and acid-base balancing. Experiments are describing the effectiveness of the circuit and demonstrating its safety with animals. Early work with humans is described and the results discussed. So they kind of developed a little heart-lung machine that would oxygenate the blood, take out the carbon dioxide, and balance the acid and base. So, knowing that, now I'm going to read what it is they did. A 14-year-old girl was admitted for termination of pregnancy. When the patient was seen, the uterus was about 26 weeks gestational size. Nowadays, we certainly consider that a viable baby and take it to the NICU, but this was in 1968. And hysterotomy was performed. And a hysterotomy is just a C-section where you want the baby to die of prematurity, so you're just going to let it die. They decided they weren't going to just let it die right away. They were going to play with it first. A 980-gram male fetus was delivered in his amniotic sac. Umbilical vein and both arteries were cannulated, that's tubes put in, with no difficulty about 11 minutes after separation of the placenta. Blood flowed evenly into the umbilical vein, but no return occurred from the arteries at first. However, brisk spontaneous flow occurred 22 minutes after birth, and the fetus was established on the circuit. And if they're saying it's not clear whether the brisk return was from the baby's heart pumping the blood or from their machine pumping the blood. And unfortunately, I cannot afford to access the article. But if you like, share, and subscribe, and I get monetized, then I can start buying these articles and covering more of it. So the baby stayed hooked up to this machine for 5 hours and 8 minutes. The experiment stopped because a cannula inadvertently slipped and could not be reintroduced. For the whole 5 hours of life, the fetus did not respire. Irregular gasping movements twice a minute occurred in the middle of the experiment, but there was no proper respiration. I assume because the baby was getting oxygen through this membrane oxygenator dialyzer that they described. Once the perfusion was stopped, however, the gasping respiratory efforts increased to 8 to 10 per minute. So the baby was being oxygen starved and was gasping more desperately, trying to get breath. The fetus died 21 minutes after leaving the circuit. So this is an experiment that was carried out. I'm going to provide the link below to the abstract from the American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology. And I also found this other article where they're talking about an experiment that took place in 1958. Dr. Weston cannulated the umbilical vessels of previable human fetuses and enclosed them into an airtight chamber filled with hypothermic isotonic glucose. Umbilical artery drainage entered into an Archimedean screw that served as a pump by raising the blood to 40 centimeters, as well as an oxygenator that exposed the blood to a countercurrent of oxygen. He succeeded in supporting 7 fetuses weighing 200 to 375 grams for up to 12 hours. Now, of course, at that time, that wouldn't have been a viable baby, but my friend's youngest daughter weighed less than 375 grams when she was born, and she's a mommy herself now. And then they talk about work they did with non-human fetuses, and they just seem to, consider it same. So I'll provide the link to this article below too. And YouTube, are you going to nuke me for misinformation, or are you going to let this stand because I am providing my sources? Thank you.